There we go. Welcome, internet, to the Survivor Buff podcast. This is episode. Oh, Jesus, number. This is 9.
Yeah.
Um, do you know the name of the episode, Drew?
You ask that every week, and I'm always. What is it? You tell me.
Cutthroat. I'm gonna.
Cutthroat.
I
I
know
can't even remember who said it, and I've watched the episode like 3 times.
that was going to be my next question because the last couple weeks, everyone seems to be answering the title of the episode. Like Jess or Mom got it last week, like right
Right.
away. I think you
Right.
guessed it. So now I'm going to start saying who said it. So
Fair
for
enough.
bonus points, do you want to take a guess?
I don't know.
Shot of
Coach.
getting it right.
Coach.
It was Aussie.
Aussie.
Yeah, referring to Cochrane, which we will talk about pretty much straight away. I will also add episode covers. I know I normally don't mention this, but I think I'm going to start. This covers day 22, 23, and 24. Those are the 3 days this covers. So yeah, we open as we normally do with the black and white nighttime shot of them getting back to camp.
Is
Uh,
that when Aussie says the cutthroat thing?
that's when he says it. Yeah.
So why do you think he said that? Is that like, does he feel a certain way, or is he trying to portray Cochrane a certain way?
It's probably a little bit of both.
Okay.
He wants to villainize Cochrane and play the victim
Right.
without
Okay.
a single term of branding, like, oh, that guy's cutthroat. Like, it
Yeah.
paints Cochrane in a very specific light, and I think that's 100% the plan.
Well, that was the thing. Because I know he was like, yeah, that's how a wiener plays. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, still there's a little bit of bully vibes I'm getting, right?
Oh,
And
100%.
and
100%.
like, uh, I don't know if this is like, I don't know, man. It kind of it just the whole thing, especially like the way Whitney talks to him,
Mm.
and just some of the stuff, and like it sounds like because at least in my opinion, like they hadn't really been nice to him for a while. Like we talked about in the past. You're like, yeah, if one of them had kind of tried to,
I hear you.
endear him to the crew, you know, I don't know. My notes I just had like when she's going off on him, you disgust me. I was just like, oh my god, this like reeks of like privilege. Like just
I
I
know.
don't know, man. I was like, it was cringy, man. I thought.
What did you think of Brandon?
Oh, I thought that was
Big brother.
yeah. He was like, hey, Ozzy's like, hey, man, we're not thugs here, and he's like, all right, and I like that Brandon sort of came to something, but as soon as Ozzy started getting aggressive, he didn't really engage. He just kind of walked away. He's like, all right, man, later. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but he walked around like, is this guy bothering you?
Yeah,
Like, that was essentially what Brandon did to Cochran there, and I was kind of
yeah.
like, okay, like, interesting move. Brandon's smart. I would have
He's
liked
smart.
to coach do something like that. Like, that lays a little bit of credence to your maybe he is, smarter than the average bear. He's,
I don't know, but I don't know if I'm
like,
saying that. I just
he is smart, but he's emotional.
he is, which is something that I can empathize with because I'm like that, right? So it's kind of like, I guess that's where it draws me in. Is I'm just like, okay, I don't mind this guy too much. Do you know what I mean? Like, um, I don't know. Yeah, just the whole thing. Oh, you're a poor excuse for a man. It's a
Right?
little, it's theatrics, it's a little over the top, man. Like really, like it's a game. Like you guys are just mad because you're not winning. Do you know? And
Exactly.
I was like, I think I made notes somewhere. Oh, I don't know. I mean, it just really felt like I like when did this series originally air? Like how long ago? It was a while
Oh,
ago,
the
right?
first episode must have been 2000 and
Like this season.
oh, this season.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Aaron.
Let me double check that, but continue on. I'll figure it out.
Well, anyways, it was just like instant marketing and like freaking out. And I was like, oh, you guys. And I thought Cochran kind of held it together well. Like he didn't really react to a lot of the really negative stuff people were throwing around, right? And my mind always goes back to like, do you guys just like, I guess they get so used to the cameras there, they forget it's going to be on TV. Like, I don't know,
I
man.
just
I
don't
wouldn't.
think that's a primary concern. I think you're Like how many times does someone on like a Price is Right or a game like that, and you're like, really? You don't realize you can be on TV? Like that's what you wear, or that's what you know? You just it's not a primary concern. It's at the
It's
back
like
of your
it's bigger.
probably stop thinking about it. Like your fingers being waterlogged. You just sort of like, I guess that's my life, and you just don't pay attention to it.
Reminds me of that Jim Jeffries thing he does with his kid when he's sick. He's like, "This is me now. I guess this is my life now." Like, oh man, yeah, the one I like it like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, because she's just like the way Whitney comes at him like, "I saved you 3 times, and like this is how you repay me," kind of thing, right? And then like when Ozzy recounts it, he recounts it a different way, but they're all like, "We saved them," but like he was on the bottom the whole time, and just that whole reframing of it, just I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm like,
Revisionist history from Ozzy and Jim and yeah.
yeah, it's
I
just like,
saved you this. I saved you this. No, Jim, you saving Cochrane was you wanting to hurt Ozzy and get
yeah,
the lead,
yeah.
right? Like Keith and Whitney saving Cochrane was voting for Don so Ozzy wouldn't be mad. That's not saving Cochrane.
No, I know, yeah, but it's
But
yeah.
that's how they see it. And Ozzy thinks his crazy good plan that he had a dream over
I
to
think I
go to redemption all by himself was not saving Cochrane. That was Ozzy trying to fly too close to the sun. Like they all think they saved Cochrane multiple times, and the truth is they just didn't think he was a threat enough, and
I
that's
don't.
a lot different than saving him.
So I got a note here. I'm pretty sure it's dialogue from the show. I don't think I would have wrote this down, but like
Mm-hmm.
somebody actually says like piece of blank nerd. It's like in the subtitles. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember
I don't
like
remember.
yeah, cuz like yeah, I wouldn't yeah, and
So
yeah,
did
cuz
you?
cuz I actually wrote down like asterisk at symbol exclamation mark question mark to note that in the subtitles they gibberished it out and they bleeped it out, but it was like yeah, piece of nerd.
Yeah, that sounds like
Somebody's
something Jim. That sounds like something Jim would have said.
yeah, but I'm just like, dude, man, like, I don't know.
What did you
Anyways,
What did you think of Cochrane just taking it all?
I thought it was smart. Like,
Really?
well, cause like, I don't know, man. Like, if people are gonna spin out like that in that way, they're kind of showing themselves like they're kind of like letting their true colors sort of go.
Like
Um,
when Ozzy freaked out when Elise left?
yeah, like because there's still the jury to consider, right? And like what's gonna happen in people's opinions at the end of the game, and I don't know, like I mean Cochrane's already like he's already voted with the other crew, right? Once he's like getting to know people. I don't know, like
Yeah.
here's the other thing too, like all you have to do is last long enough until the balance of power shifts or until you get to the point which happens at the end of this episode where now if a couple people slide over. Now you've got two groups because no one wants to be number 6 or number 7, right? Everybody wants to be number 2 or 3 or one,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
one, right? You know
yeah.
what I mean? So, it's like I think he just I don't know. I don't think he's not like an aggressive arguer. I don't know if he's
I
like,
hear you.
I don't know. You didn't think it was smart? You think it was a mistake to be so quiet?
I think it was a little cowardly. Yeah, like stand up for yourself a little bit, like because again, like you mentioned, it's jury management. Those people are going to go to the jury just thinking Cochrane flipped, so screw him.
Okay, well, I'm going to take one of my notes. Oh, where is it? Which vote is it? I think it's
Well, we can get to that when we get to the.
no, but basically there's a point where Cochrane's voting, and I can't remember who he's referencing, but he looks at the camera like at the urn and is like, you know what, like you've been trying to like you had your eye on me from day one. Really don't think it's that inappropriate that I vote for you right now, and he writes someone's name down, so he
Oh, yeah.
knows, and like it's just I think he's kind of picking his battles. Like they were, like some of the stuff they said was so over the top. Like why not just let that stand? Like
But
you know,
at the end of the day, he needs to.
like arguing with the 2-year-old when they're being a 2-year-old. Is it going to work for you? Is it going to make you look good getting drawn into that argument?
Fair enough.
I don't know.
No, that's a solid point.
Yeah,
Um, ready to move on to the next morning?
sure.
So next morning, it's the first conversation is Coach telling Cochran, "Who do you think should go next? Like you pick. Thank you for helping us out."
Yeah. Um. The you saw like the fist shaking like Ryu pose for the yoga, right? Did you notice that?
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh yeah. It's like I called it like yoga at Machu Picchu was already a thing, but we're doing it again. Yeah, it's like early. It's like 6 minutes in. It's funny.
Jesus,
It's
okay,
like
I missed that then.
yeah, like buff on the wrist and like some kind of weird. I didn't know yoga was about shaking stuff, but anyways, yeah.
Well, it's not yoga, right? It's his
Oh,
own thing.
oh yeah, for sure. Okay, fair enough. I
Yeah,
wasn't aware, but I'll keep that in mind. Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
thought it was.
yeah. We talked about it a couple episodes ago, but yeah, it's his own thing. What?
So they're talking, and
Well, he just asked like Cochran to pick someone, and Cochran's like, I don't know, like whoever, really, like I don't care. And I just thought that was weird. I thought Cochran was sort of just
oh, he didn't say
his one.
no. He had an answer. It wasn't he like he was like I think he was like physically he'd go Aussie, but personally he wanted Jim gone. And coach was like, oh, interesting,
Oh yeah,
right? And like I get it because Jim's more of a dick. I don't know, like
it
or
just
just
didn't
was
seem like
being aggressive
Cochran
with him,
was
anyways.
forceful enough. It just didn't seem like Cochran really pushed the issue. He was just sort of like, here's my input, do with it what you like. And after a big move like that, I wanted to see Cochran sort of like really take the
Like
game by the
like
horns, kind of a
like
thing.
keep taking more moves and become like the man behind the curtain, essentially.
Yeah, I just didn't think because he went from being the bottom on his tribe, and now I feel like he's just the bottom on another tribe. And
You know what?
I don't
He's
get enough
like,
of the sense that he's trying to find cracks. He's more of like, nice, I've gone to a new family, sweet, and
but
it's he's still
I,
on the bottom.
I feel like this, yeah. But he's like, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of like Edna, but
He's,
more personable and like a little bit smarter. But he's not a challenge beast, right?
he's not as well. I mean, you just don't hear. I don't know. I think he's
He
underneath Edna. He's below Edna. He's below Brandon. He's below Rick. And I'm like,
no, because he's, I don't know. He's more predictable, reliable than Brandon. Like if Brandon gets swept away with his emotions, he's on that tide for a bit. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Rick's pretty even, Steven. Like Cochran would be, I would, especially you get to the end, like you don't want somebody unpredictable, right? You don't want to lose Cannon going into the final six. I don't know. I mean, you tell me. Like, would you
No, fair
would
enough.
you go in if it were you? Would you go into the final six with a real crazy horse and like see what happens and then just kind of
If
hold
I
on for
knew
your
how
eight
to
seconds?
control him, maybe. If I thought I could control him, I could see myself maybe making that call. But that'd be a risky play. But
Okay, okay.
I thought I could. I thought at least he's like I don't care if he's a monster. If he's my monster, I'm like okay, well I can deal with that. I don't know. Then what happens next? I'm trying to double check where we are after they're trying to decide who goes. Oh, I made a note of this. I can't remember. Yeah, Ozzy just says he needs to just never lose ever again.
Yeah. I don't know. I really like this episode for how it goes for Ozzy. Well, I don't know when you want to talk
Yeah,
about that,
fair
but
enough. Fair enough.
it was kind of like we were talking about it last week, but you hadn't seen it yet, so I was just like, okay, well, we'll talk about it after you see it. But I don't know.
Do you got anything before the challenge then?
No, pretty much. I'm like, yeah. I think it was like the yoga at 6 minutes was the last thing. I was like, okay, that's pretty
Yeah,
weird.
it's kind of a crap on Cochran for the whole first like 10 minutes of the episode.
Yeah.
So then we get to the challenge, and the challenge is called Get Kraken. Yeah, what did you think of this one?
It was good. There was some stuff I like. I don't know. Yeah, I like. I don't know. I had notes about like the perceived weak and the perceived strong. Like Survivor always kind of flips that stuff like on its head a little bit. Um,
What do you
and
mean,
that's
like, specifically
well,
from?
just how like you kind of like you'll go into a challenge thinking like, oh, so and so will be good at this, so and so will be good at that, or like just the people you don't think would win like end up like doing the best. And it is very much about individual spirit and heart, and it kind of shows you that it's not about those stereotypes that people aren't like, or people will surpass your expectations sometimes or their own expectations, like um
Because the four finalists for the challenge were what, Jim, Dawn, Whitney, and Sophie.
yeah, and I was like, yeah, there's three women and one man going into this. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like I was like, yeah, sweet. Like I don't know. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Do you think you could do this? I don't think I could do this.
Oh, dude, I don't know if I could do this well, man. I mean, it's like, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're holding stuff, but like, it's trying to hold that together while you're doing the athletic stuff. Oh
Yeah.
man, and I kind of felt like Jeff Jinkster at the end, man. He's like, "You gotta move, girl," and then it's like she got flustered, and I'm like, "Oh man, you said something," like, because she was there,
Well, I
right?
think
And
it
I
was
was just
Albert. I think it was Albert cheering her on in the stands. So, just for everyone listening, because I just realized we haven't described it yet,
like,
this half of the challenge: crack as many coconuts open with just a rock. You had to hold that coconut water in your mouth, race through like a jungle gym, or as
yes,
Jeff always says, a series of obstacles.
a life-size jungle gym. Yes,
Yeah, like one of the things you'd see in the play area of like a McDonald's. If
yeah, but for 40-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. And side, and you have to spit the coconut water into a tube. And once you hit, I don't know the exact height, but once it hit a level marker, you were okay to go. But
Is it like just this season or is it other seasons? It seems like they love to do torturous things. Like here, we're gonna give you some food, and you can just put it in your mouth, but you don't get to eat it though. We know you're hungry. Don't accidentally swallow that one first coconut. Just
it's
hold it in your mouth, and then it's character building. Put hair on your chest. I don't know, man, but I'm just like, oh, it's
I
like
don't, yeah.
right the
As soon as
beef
the
or the
challenge was
meat.
over, as soon as the challenge was over, they spit out. They all spit out the coconut water. They were coconut
Yeah,
watered out by the time
yeah.
that was
Well, true. I like how does somebody not like just legit choke on that, right? You're doing athletic stuff, right? You're breathing in through your nose while holding water in your mouth while you're running. That's the other thing too. You better not be congested at all for this challenge or you're hooped.
Yeah. Well, Sophie almost did. She probably could have won had she not just sort of choked up a bit. Um,
Yeah,
Jim ends up winning. He does a little triumphant, both arms up in the air in the
he
last
does.
seconds. I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of a bit much, Jim, but whatever.
Huh? That's how you do it. Like where is he from? Isn't he like from Vegas or something?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
He must spend time there being a pro poker player, right?
Oh,
You would
must
think.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. So, he's done that move before with right?
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're waiting for
Right.
the flop. You stand up. 1% chance of winning this unless a ace shows up and they both, you've seen that where both poker players stand up from the table and just kind of
Oh,
take
really?
because it's so stressful. Because there's
Oh,
nothing they can do, right? It's just what is that last card? Everything's out of their hands at this point. Besides that,
oh, that would be horrible.
over to the
Anyways,
stands, chill with their family. It's a really stressful 30 seconds. Anyway, so yeah, Jim takes it. Um, and then pretty much they go right back to camp because this is a double elimination episode. So we're getting a tribal council very, very shortly. It's only like 20 minutes into the episode before they get to the next tribal.
I like that quote that Coach wrote there. Some of the greatest inspiration is born of desperation, Marcus Aurelius.
I researched that to see if I could find out if he said that, and I could not find it. But to be honest, I only looked for about 10 minutes. He's got a lot of good quotes.
Yeah, well, who, Marcus Aurelius?
Yeah,
Yeah, probably. I would imagine.
yeah,
Um,
he's into philosophy, that guy.
yeah.
But yeah, I noticed that quote. I wrote that down. I was like, yeah, of course, Coach quotes Marcus Aurelius. Yeah,
So I like I just had another note. I was like, man, if Ozzy had done a little bit more to win over Cochran, right? Like, as like I'm watching him and like Ozzy and Coach talk and just like where he's at and like, you know, uh yeah, man. I don't know.
yeah, because
There's
Ozzy says to Coach, he's just like, I don't want to go, man. And Coach is like, yeah, I hear you. Like, what are you gonna do? And it's like I feel like Ozzy's ready to just do anything to stay all by himself. He's not worried about Jim. He's not worried about Whitney.
well, I
Right?
mean,
Like
we're gonna
Ozzy,
talk.
Ozzy's in it for himself. He can't blame Cochran too hard. He's playing a one player game.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like he, well, I mean, we'll have to talk about it when we get to it. But it's kind of like,
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't know, man. He's been to Redemption Island once and come back. He could do it again. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Um, I mean, if you had to pick yourself, if you were to either win every individual immunity challenge against, right? Like, do you want to have to win every challenge from here to the end of the game by playing against the whole rest of the tribe and you have a one in however many? Or do you want all your same thing? You're going to win them all, the same plan, but now you just got to be one person every time, one on one, just one person, you and me. If I were Aussie, why wouldn't you want to do that? Right? You're chilling, right? He's at camp, he's feeding himself and other people. If he's at redemption, he's just feeding himself and one other person, man. It's like that would be the easy life for him. you know?
I hope my picture's not going a little wonky. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's good. That's a good point. What did you think of Jim's plan?
Uh, I mean, it was interesting. I've never seen somebody lay it out in a grid before as like the kind of the permutations. It made me look at the game a little bit different.
Well, that was the second one. This wasn't when he talks to Sophie or Albert. That comes a little bit later. This is him just saying, "I'll give my necklace to Ozzy, and then I'll just say, yeah, Cochran's a bad guy, and everyone will hopefully vote him out. And Napolu will still have an advantage." Yeah, this was
Uh,
the first tribal.
okay. Oh,
So,
like at the, you mean at tribal?
well, he mentions it before tribal, but yeah, that's what he says he's gonna do, and I thought that was a dumb plan. I don't know why. Like why?
Why? What?
Well,
Why
why
do
give up an immunity? Yeah, just it's so out of like revenge or hatred or spitefulness. It's not being smart. It's just playing angry.
I guess. Well, I mean, he's been sort of angry since right Cochran did
Like,
his
yeah,
thing, but like,
you can vote off Savai all one by one. I don't care. I just don't want Cochrane to like outlast me. It seemed like that was the main plan, and I just thought that was short sighted. Is all for a poker player.
well, yeah, I agree. Like I was gonna say for a poker player, he's got a bit of a tell. Um, but
Yeah, yeah.
like,
I saw that.
uh, I had a note around 15 minutes. I think this is around tribal, and it was just kind of. I think this whole thing, like, it kind of. That's why I was like earlier. I was like, well, like, what year did this come out? Because it's sort of. I mean, it basically. I said, and maybe this is just from like local culture and stuff these days, but like, I just said like the negativity continues. It's kind of a sign of the times. Like, I don't like what you did, said, therefore you're bad and you're fascist, extreme left or extreme right. I was just like, it kind of sounded like a lot of tears to me from them going into that, right? And just like, oh,
Yeah,
it should.
100%.
And I just kind of was like, oh man, it's just like creepy marketing on their part, and I just kind of I I did say Jim's an ass, but he's smart. Until this episode went the way that it did, like, well, I really thought that he was going to win. Like, still at 16 minutes into this episode, I was like, oh man, but he seemed really aware to me of like what everyone was doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. Yeah, I just seemed like, yeah, that it's kind of the same thing, right? Um, yeah, I don't know.
So, I mean, then essentially we get to tribal, and Jeff asks, like, hey, did you have a rough time when you got back to camp after the raid? And he's like, yep, I pretty much had to stand there and get yelled at by 6 people or 5 people.
I think he's like a relatively icy reception, to say the least, or something like that, right?
Yeah. Cochran has to say it in a way like that. He won't just say it sucked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what did you like? This is the point where he explains what I thought he should have explained at the very beginning of the episode to be like, yeah, you guys treated me like garbage.
Yeah, I was kind of, he didn't really say any of that stuff. Do you know what I mean? But um I think I don't know. I mean, I don't know that that would get him anything to do that.
Well,
You know
because
what I mean?
Ozzy says like, did I like personally? Was I like a dick
Oh,
to you?
and oh yeah, and he was like, yeah.
Like, yeah, you were. And
Yeah.
Ozzy's like, oh. Like I guarantee the whole Ozzy, Keith, Jim, and Whitney thing, they probably didn't realize they were doing it, but this is the ramifications of their actions, in my
Well, I
opinion.
I did kind of say earlier that some of their behavior reeked of privilege, right? So that goes along with that whole like, oh, I just didn't know. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
anyways, maybe I'm just trying to put too many of today's things onto this, because that's what I was like. I gotta find out when this thing came out. But I like
Oh,
how
by the way,
you know.
it's 2011.
Oh, okay, so a
2011.
decade ago. Okay. Um, I liked I liked how he's like, yeah, there's a reason that it's been since season 4 that people haven't drawn rocks. Like,
I like that fact.
and I think it was smart of him not to be like Survivor trivia guy, like out on the island. Do you know? Maybe that's why sometimes he said awkward stuff when he got sitting near the fire, because he was just like, well, I gotta say something, and it can't be about stuff that makes me seem threatening, or like I'm
That's a
gonna
good
be
point.
slander behind stuff. But uh yeah. So just I think there are just like some. I noticed some inconsistencies when they're talking before the vote, and like how, I don't know, like earlier in the episode, like back in the Whitney said, "Oh, I saved you 3 times," and then someone at the tribal was like, "Well, I saved you this many times. Whitney saved you once. So and so saved you once," and that's
Yeah,
kind of like, ah, you guys are just throwing stuff out there, right?
yeah.
And I don't know.
But it wasn't. It didn't. There was no sort of like they weren't all trying to convince him of something. They were just all mad
Yeah,
and venting their grievances kind of thing. And they weren't really trying to convince him to come back over. They weren't trying to convince anyone else. They weren't trying to pull a fast one on anyone. They were just mad and wanted to say stuff to Cochran in a public
right.
setting. But I don't get why. It's not like they were trying to say things that a jury didn't already know. So they just that's what I'm saying. Supply consistently makes emotional, like they're all a bunch of Brandons. They just make emotional decisions, and no one's really using their head. Like
You're
Jim
not
was
wrong.
the only one that seemed to not make emotional decisions until this episode.
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, they definitely didn't go into the merge with any semblance of unity. Do you know?
Yeah,
Like, and that, put them on rocky footing, like right from the get go.
yeah. Jim thought he was smarter than everyone else. Keith thought him and Whitney were good enough. Ozzy thought he was better. That wasn't that we need all of us to do this kind of a mentality.
Here, I'm gonna refresh my coffee. 2 seconds. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, clearly at this point in the game, coach has done a better job of, keeping his peeps together. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Did you have any thoughts about the stuff they said before the vote or the vote or?
I mean, I kind of liked Brandon coming to Cochran's defense, um, saying stuff like, yeah, like he again said more or less what I was thinking, just sort of like, yeah, the downtrodden aren't gonna like he was on the bottom. What was he supposed to do, kind of a thing. Like
Hmm.
I thought it was a very good point. I felt. I mean, I feel like Cochran earlier could have saved himself from this sort of fate or this sort of public image, but yeah, the other three were just rewriting history. So I'm glad someone else kind of verbalized that and said it out loud. That it wasn't just like me screaming at my phone this morning while I'm watching the show, right, and taking my notes.
Yeah, well, exactly right. Yeah, I think the other thing I was thinking too is like how they were, as she was talking about it, like, oh, I saved you all these times. Do you know what I mean? And why aren't you grateful? But like, what kind of position does that put your resume in as a survivor player now, right? Like, so you just got saved as the goat, and that's going to be like that. Nobody would want that. Nobody would be
Mhm.
grateful for that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I hear
they
you.
would be, they would be, glad that they were still in the game, but like, you know, being just brought along doesn't do anything for a player. Do you know what I mean? Especially not someone who knows as much about the game as Cochran, right? Like, for them to think he'd be happy, that's kind of foolish on their part, maybe.
Oh no, I hear you.
Um, yeah,
So at a vote of 9-2, after Jim backtrails on his
yeah.
give up the necklace, what did you think of that, Drew?
Well, actually, is that? I don't think that's this vote, is it? Because I've got, okay, so right at the end of this tribal, I've got a note. You might laugh at this, but I was like, Survivor did it. They made me fall in love with the villain, and I'm with them now. Like when Brandon sort of speaks up, right? I'm like, okay, like
Yeah, yeah.
and then as they're talking, I've got a note like 20 minutes or something like Jim on honor and coach on honor. And like how coach is like, yeah, sure. When he gives one of those speeches, like, yeah, sure. I perk up a little bit. And then, it's inspiring and stuff, but he's kind of like, it's show. And then I like how Ozzy's like, he's like, I'll feed you a fish and send you on your way.
Yeah.
Like, are you guys sure you want me on Redemption Island? Because now I just got to feed one person. And you know what I mean? And this is probably my favorite Aussie moment of the episode when he's like, this, and then, anyways,
Yeah. Yeah, you want
uh,
to send me to the gates of hell? I'll greet because eventually it's gonna come down to just the six of you. And and I'm gonna because he knows they're probably gonna let someone back in and I don't know. When do you think, if someone does go to Redemption Island, when do you think the guy from Redemption Island comes back? I would say maybe five or four people, somewhere around there. The Redemption Island player comes back.
okay,
Maybe five
I'd
would,
say five.
because that's the
So
last time you get a chance to play an idol. So that's probably when they would let the person back into the game. So he only has to eliminate what as many as Christine did to get back, and I don't
right.
know. Like, Aussie's doing his like King Kong ain't got nothing on me kind of moment. And
So that's what I mean. And so when he's doing that, I'm in my living room to the TV doing the Irish guy from Braveheart, going like, "It's my island," right? I was like, dude, man, I like, as soon as he said, I'm like, I want to see this. Yeah, that would be, like I said, I think he's very athletic. We know that. He's only got to feed one person. He doesn't have to deal with drama. He can chill. He loves it there. He's like an outdoorsy guy. Like, I want to see what he does with it. I could see him just running the table on that one.
fair enough. So yeah, 9-2.
Oh, oh yeah, okay, he does.
Jim and Ozzy vote for Cochran, and yeah, Don and Cochran go to the other side and vote out Ozzy.
Uh to the the note to the camera. I was like, he's like, I don't know if it was, I don't know who did this. They voted for Cochran. I think it was either like Jim or Ozzy or somebody, and they just, when they're voting, they're like, I just really don't like you, bro. Like, I
Yeah.
was like, dude, what the f?
Yeah, my favorite, and I think I mentioned this before, when someone is holding their vote to the camera and they talk so loud that everyone sitting, 15 feet away at tribal hears them.
Do they do that sometimes?
I think there's 3 or 4 people that have done it. It really is hilarious when they just use their outside voice while they're holding the paper up to the camera. And
Is it like for like all time, or you mean like a couple times a season before? Or
oh no, 4 or 5 times total. Like it hasn't happened very often. Normally people do whisper when they say really bad things. Or like, I don't care, and they like throw it in the air. And everyone's laughing back at tribal because they know who that person's talking about. So why hide it?
I was like, well, so this is when Cochran's like, yeah, you've been out for me from the start, so I really don't think it's inappropriate to vote for you, is like what he says here. And then I was really interested in this. Well, this first I wrote down like as they came out, I was like, Aussie Cochran, Aussie Cochran, Aussie, 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 Aussie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like he's like, let's try this again. He's like, once
yeah.
again, the tribe's spoken.
It was Jim that said that I just really don't like you.
Right? And I'm just like what is that? I don't know, man.
Yeah, Jim's vindictive. So it really just goes to Redemption Island with Keith and Ozzy chilling out, and Ozzy does
What,
more of his fishing stuff.
dude, biggest fish we've ever seen on Survivor, right?
Huge.
Huge. Like
Yeah.
he was probably only bringing back the small fish before because he didn't want to feed people too much. I don't know, man.
Right. He was like, "This is all I need. So if everyone else needs more, it doesn't hurt me." And now then it's just him and Keith. He's like, "Yeah, I'll feed Keith for a day, and then deal with it." Yeah.
I like how they're like, no, we're gonna eat now and later, right? Not just dinner, lunch and dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like how after they're like, wonder what the other guys are eating today.
Yep. And then it goes right to the challenge.
It does. It does.
Goes right to so this we're on day 24.
And
Um,
which challenge was this?
this challenge is called Bo Diddley.
Oh,
The balancing beam holding the curved piece of wood like a bow and having the ball on it, and you had to keep moving farther down the small beam until you were the last one standing.
this one was fraught with mental anguish. I feel like for some of the players and me, it stressed me out. I'm like, oh my god, these people are
It was
gonna
a nail biter.
learn.
A couple key standouts. I mean, the first one is Jim was eliminated early and was not happy about it. Actually, I
So
forgot to
sad.
mention. I forgot to mention my favorite part. Jeff has a surprise for all the survivors at the beginning.
Oh yeah, if you think you're safe, you
If you
don't
think
have to
you're
play.
safe,
You can
yeah, a lot of muffins, some croissants. There was
iced
donuts.
coffee.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, and just the chatter between them, and right, because it was what Whitney, Dawn, and Jim were competing, and then
yeah.
the crew like slurping, and he's like, Jeff's like playing off the two of them, and I was like, oh, this one's kind of cold, you guys. I don't
And
know.
you hear the clink of the spoons as they're stirring the iced coffees. You hear plates being shuffled about, forks on plates, cutting up pastries.
So another moment where I like Brandon a little, where he's like, Brandon, how's it going over there? And he's like, I'm not talking, and just I'm like, okay,
I'm not talking, just eating. Don't
yeah,
don't have time. I
yeah.
don't know if all three of them are going to drop in 10 seconds here. I want to at least get another two donuts into my mouth before that happens. So
Oh
let's
my god.
don't have time, Jeff. I like that.
Oh man. Uh,
Yeah, so Jim goes out, and then it comes down to Dawn and Whitney. Did you like Dawn saying, "I'll stay up here for as long as I can, so you guys can eat more"?
yeah, I mean, I liked it until Brandon later on pointed out the weirdness around it, but it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, it seems noble, but it kind of seems like little hearts and flowers too.
Yeah.
like you're on the bottom and you're like struggling there and talking about like it's really one tribe. It's kind of like a confession under duress almost. Do you know what I mean?
It's sucking up. It's sucking up. That's what she's
A
trying
little,
to do.
a
She's
little.
trying to be not the next Savai to go home because she knows it's just three Savai in a row, and she's definitely gone. So she's just being
Yeah.
like, I want to last a little longer than Whitney or a little longer than Jim. So I'm just gonna be nice. So that way, even if Whitney beats me, Jim still goes home. Or she just wants to outlast the other Savai members. So she's just sucking up.
I think if I were, I don't know, man. I'd be. I just like I don't know. It just like I'd feel like I think I'd just like hop off so they don't have to stop eating a couple seconds in. Do you know what I mean? Be like, oh, you
Oh,
guys are all safe. Tell you what, I'd be like, if I was Jim, I'd be like, hey, listen, I'm gonna let one of you two ladies win. I'm hopping off right away. If you guys in between the two of you, then they're not all gassing up their tanks while we're out here sweating like if we're
that
working.
would. I could see Jim making that move. If it was Jim and Whitney left, I could see Jim being like, "Hey, Whitney, do you want to jump off so I can get the necklace and we just stop them eating? Can we do that?" Jim would have made that call? Hundred
Yeah,
percent.
yeah,
Good call.
for sure, right? Wheeling and dealing like Johnny Fairplay, eh?
Yeah. So then, yeah, Dawn makes a very valiant effort, a couple of close saves, and in the end, it was not enough.
Yeah,
Whitney barely moved. Like that seemed like sound was like made for her at some point.
could be. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, you can tell that Dawn is very athletic. I don't know what she does, but I mean, like her arms are nicer than mine at times. Do you know what I mean? Like, um, I mean, who knows what kind of athletic stuff Whitney did as a kid, right? Maybe she was a gymnast. Maybe she was, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. But yeah, balance beam type stuff, clearly her thing.
yeah, yeah.
I felt like we saw like Albert kind of for the first time in a while this episode. I was kind of like, I don't know, like it was kind of after the challenge. But sorry, do you have more stuff you want to say
Oh,
about the
no,
challenge?
no, no. After the challenge, yeah, Whitney wins. Yeah, back at camp. Take it
Yeah.
away.
Well, I can't remember what happens first. I just like my
I think you're talking about Albert. Well, first of all, the first thing that happens, and I made sure to write this down, is what did you think of Cochran walking around with Coach's jacket and Rick's hat?
I don't know, man. Yeah, it was weird, and I was like, oh, you're wearing your socks. Your socks are gross.
That was the takeaway. Okay, fair enough.
Oh, and that wasn't the takeaway. I was just like, oh, it was hard to watch.
What'd you? Oh, you thought it was cringy.
A little cringy. I don't know. I mean, I get it, but I mean, if people are laughing, it's just like, I don't know, man.
What'd you think of Jim saying Cochran's playing an amazing third place game?
Well, that's the idea I'd want to put out there if I were Jim.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Maybe, I mean, he's a poker player. He's getting a read on a guy. He probably is like, you know what? He's playing a good game. He's gonna go far, but I don't think he'll. I don't think he'll go all the way. Maybe he's like, I think he'll get to the final three, but I think he'll get sidelined. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Well, I mean, this is where two things happen, and I'm trying to remember the order.
Mhm.
Um, oh yeah, I was wrong. Yeah, that that Jim writing the grid out in the sand. That was the previous one. My bad. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I just thought it was interesting the way he kind of was like, okay, here's kind of this is what everybody thinks. This is kind of the what I see as the challenger to that. Here's what I see, and how he broke it down. It was interesting. It made me kind of see the game a little bit different when you're going into that final stretch. Like it's starting to make more sense some of the smaller parts of the game now that I've seen a few seasons.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Um, so Albert has some concerns about Dawn. He thinks Dawn is a bigger threat than Jim.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be like to be an actual player on the game, but as a viewer, just my so far, I literally took it like, oh, dude, what are you talking about? We haven't seen a talking head from you in like episodes, man. Like, shut up.
Yeah,
It's just how I felt, how it hit me. I was like, whatever.
yeah. Fair enough. Did you like Coach's analogy of Jim being a rhino and Don being a serpent?
I did, but I couldn't figure out which one he thought was the bigger threat from him saying that. I was just like, oh,
Oh, that's
because
true.
to me,
That's
like
true. We
a
never
rhino's,
really, yeah.
I know, right? Because a rhino's kind of easy to see, like right? A snake's something that will catch you off guard. So in my mind, I'm like, snake's way more dangerous. I'm way more afraid of snakes than rhinos. You know what I mean? I'll see a rhino coming, I'll climb a tree. But anyways, but yeah, I was. I mean, he's right though. They're both threats. Everybody wants to win.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Um, so then, yeah, you're right. I don't think I have anything written down after that coach line. I was like, yeah, you're right. He didn't really say which one is the bigger threat. Probably just to keep things aloof going into tribal, you know.
Yeah, maybe.
Don't give the game away editing wise, so to just make you watch the last 10 minutes.
Well, here's the other thing. Maybe when he's telling that story, he doesn't know what he's going to be able to convince the crew to do, right? And he's like, okay, well, one of them we got to get rid of. So I'm going to give him the choice of two and we'll see. So he just maybe left it. I don't know.
Fair enough. So yeah, we get to tribal. I mean, my only notes here is very heavily on Brandon.
Me too.
Okay, okay.
I called it. I called it.
Fair enough.
I called it Hearts and Flowers from Dawn, basically, right? And he catches her, and I thought it was good.
Yeah, she was trying to give a very political answer, still trying to weasel her way in, or serpent her way in, slither, whatever you want to say, if you're gonna use a coach analogy. But
Sure. Yeah.
she was giving her best kind of company answer there. Like, yep, I tried my best so you guys could eat more,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So she
And
gave
Brandon was not asleep. He
no,
was like, hold on a minute. Hold up.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I don't know, I like that. And I was like, because my next note is, I hate to say it, but I 100% agree with Brandon. Like, I like this guy now. It's one of those things where I was like, oh, I don't know about this guy. He was dramatic, not really being nice to Michaela in the beginning. And now I'm kind of like, he's sticking up for people and being a little bit different. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't know. And maybe it's just the editing and like the screen time and what's going on around those characters. But I'm like, I don't know. I
Hmm.
kind of like the guy now for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
And
He has his moments, that's for sure.
maybe I'll change my mind next week. It's possible.
Okay, fair enough. I just want to check because I'm just trying to remember next week's episode so I can kind of cue it up. Oh yeah, the next week.
I watched the first maybe 10, 15 minutes of it this morning just to kind of, I don't know. I find sometimes like a little bit ahead and then I can kind of see, I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, well, do you have anything else to really say? I mean, Jim goes home or goes to
Jim
redemption.
Jim goes to redemption. I'm not really mad at it. That's what I was going to say earlier, like up until his name's coming up on the paper, even though the way he did stuff wasn't my favorite. Like, I still liked him as a player. I thought he was a good player. I thought he, especially in the beginning, sort of astute, he seemed to sort of have a read on people, you know. um I think it was like you and I were talking about this before, but like he just got almost like Savage season 7, like he just got too angry, too noisy about it, and made
Yeah,
himself a bit of a target. Do you
yeah.
know, like, and I mean, like, because who are the other votes that came up? Was it just him that got votes at the end? Like, did Whitney get some votes?
No. I want to double check.
I didn't write this one down. I should start writing them down.
Yeah, well, I've got some. Okay, so Edna got 3 votes from Dawn, Jim, and Whitney, and everyone else voted Jim.
Don, Jim, Whitney. Yeah, okay.
So
That's interesting. So, like, Don, Jim, and Whitney, and who did they think was gonna be a fourth with them then?
I think they tried to get Albert and Sophie. That was Jim's plan, right?
Uh,
And Albert and Sophie. Like Jim was like, hey, these two are smart people, so I'll talk to them. But he doesn't realize that they're number 2 and 3 on the pecking order, so they're not going to jump ship. What they
yeah,
should have done is tried to get Rick and Edna along and get out Brandon maybe, or get out Sophie or Albert. Like go to the weaker players and try and go to them instead of go to the two strongest. But they have no idea the pecking order. I'm pretty sure they don't realize it goes Coach, Albert, Sophie, everyone else.
That's yeah. Do you think it would be possible to see it, like if you were on the show, like because we see it through the cameras and
Oh,
all this multifaceted stuff, right?
yeah,
It's got to be hard, like when you're in the moment to
yeah.
really,
If
I
people
don't
are being friendly, how friendly is too friendly? Are they just making conversation? Are they really tight? How? Yeah, that's got to be a hard thing to read for sure.
yeah, because like say in the morning, after breakfast, midday, somewhere, you go and you have your little secret conversation with so and so. But if you're doing that, no one's around, then other people might be having little secret conversations. You have your little conversations, and you're like, okay, we
Hmm.
got a plan. I'm cool. And then the rest of the day, you just chill, and everyone comes away thinking, okay, we're gonna do this, and then what really actually fucking
Yeah, yeah.
it's yeah, it's I don't know, it's a crazy game, man. Like the thing I think that I've gained the most appreciation for now is like what's coming up, like um like the balance of power is gonna like because like we were talking earlier, like nobody wants to be number 6 or 7, right?
Yeah.
So now once it gets closer, it's gonna something might shift again. Do you know what I mean? I don't think anyone like I mean, and oh oh my headset might be dying.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, it might be a good place to call it then. We'll pick this up next week
But
for what?
I'm excited for next episode, and like we'll get more into it. But yeah, it's I think it's a really good season this season. It's like
Me too.
yeah,
So yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can reach us at Buff Survivor on Twitter or talkingsurvivor@gmail.com. I've actually put my own Twitter handle here for
yeah.
at Dave underscore the Ninja.
Oh, nice.
Drew will eventually get one too. Yeah, join us next week. Bye, Internet.
See you guys.